Update. Someone in my m24 friend group made fun of someone's autistic sister. We came down hard on him, and my fiancé, F23, is upset at me. TLDR. Broke up with my fiancé after she ghosted me when I refused to apologize to Nick. But she made up a lie about why she left because I tried to prevent her from leaving and attempted to call my job with lies too. Dad said to consider suing for defamation. But my therapist said not to because it would show that she'd still have power over me and to move on. I made my first post over a year ago and wanted to come back not only for closure but to add what happened. Long story short, my now ex-fiancé and I were hanging out with our friend group when the wedding was still on. It was a casual hangout, and one of our friends, Jake, was telling us about a customer at Target. He worked there, who messed up his zone, pushing things forward on shelves, by touching everything, and was autistic too. Nick, another friend, began imitating the kid's demeanor along with saying how the mom should have controlled him more and how he hated when parents brought their ret__ds into where he worked to quote what he specifically said along with imitating facial expressions. After he said that, Steph, another friend, asked him to stop, but he insisted that he was joking and told her to lighten up. Steph has an autistic sister who she's close with, and Jake knew that for as long as well did. Steph left the room and was distant for the rest of the night, but Jake apologized for bringing it up on the same night. Nick, however, did not and said that she was overreacting when some of us told him to stop. Nick was also buzzed. So, some of us approached him again on a different night when he wasn't to ASL him to apologize to Steph. But, he kept his stance about her overreacting and called her the B word too. So, we cut him off until he decided to apologize, something he never did. My fiancé agreed with our stance until the night we cut him off because she wanted him to attend the wedding and changed her stance to he was just joking around like always. She also began calling our friends toxic, many of who she had asked to be in the party because we cancelled Nick, the first time she ever used that word around me. She is left-leaning politically as some people asked in my first post. She also said that Steph was an attention WH___ and that she used her sister to get pity, and she also wanted me to apologize to Nick so that he would still come to the wedding. Some people said that this was wedding jitters, but I had never seen her act like this before. Nick was close to her, and she agreed with our stance up until he refused to apologize. She also said that she didn't want me to treat our children like that, like we did Nick, and she didn't have many friends until I introduced her to my friend group and she made some. She took to social media to vent about me. First time she ever did, along with ignoring me for a few days on call and messaging update. I didn't appreciate her ignoring me, and I also considered her 180 a red flag. Like I said, I never saw her act like this before, and she didn't have many friends at all until I introduced her to my group a couple of years back, and she had a few close ones including Nick. A few of our friends saw her 182 and said it was strange following her Facebook rant, and the ghosting was the last straw for me. I called her a few times, not because I was desperate, although it did hurt, but because I was not going to tolerate it and gave her a deadline of a few days to respond because I wasn't playing that game. I've been ghosted before by someone else, so it wasn't my first time. I refused to change my stance on apologizing to Nick, and my friends said that I was right to do so, including the ones who were close to her. A girl even said that my fiancé went along with asking Nick to apologize because she probably thought he would and that everyone would be fine. But when it wasn't, she showed her true colors. She said that my fiancé wanted friends more than anything, even if they showed ugly sides of themselves too. She didn't respond to the deadline I gave her. So, with the help of my parents, we proceeded to cancel the wedding after calls to her parents went unreturned too. However, the past year has been really difficult because of what she's done in the aftermath of canceling the wedding. One of the first things she did was make a post on Instagram about how she was now single because I had made homophobic comments. That made her reconsider. Along with unfollowing a lot of us too, she also called my job and told them that I had tried to prevent her from leaving by becoming physical, which I never did, along with my homophobic comments too. Something I learned from a manager who pulled me aside to talk about it in the office. I ended up leaving that job because that manager told others what I thought was confidential in our conversation, and long story short, there were those who took my side, more than not, at my job, but also those who didn't and had different versions, and it made it tough to be there after some began treating me very different. I tried changing departments without a promotion, but was told I needed a reason, and when I was honest about why, it wasn't approved. HR said they'd talked to said people who were spreading things and promised to follow up, but they never did. And some people began making comments about how I was trying to get them in trouble too, and that's just a little of it. Some days were quite rough, and here's where I'm at now. Dad has suggested trying to sue my fiancé for deformation, but my therapist said that I shouldn't and should just move on because suing would show my fiancé that she still has power over me along with the stress of the whole process and having to be involved with her too. Dad disagrees with my therapist and suggested finding a new one. I'm also not sure if I can sue because I left the company on my own volition, but Dad said that I can because her rumor started everything, although we have no proof of the call made to the office unless a lawyer is able to attain it. I'm not sure if that's possible. That's where I'm at and what I want to ask. It's been a hard year, and I want to move on. I thought about suing, but I don't even know if I have enough to if I wanted to, and I'm torn on my therapist's advice. I am open to any and all suggestions. Edit. I'm glad it came out before the wedding, but I've also received some threatening DMs on Instagram from people who I assume follow her and her post she made, at the time, about how I apparently said homophobic things, and I still get those from time to time, which is stressful and why I barely use social media anymore. I'm just trying to decide on what to do to make this all stop because it's been a year and she still sometimes vents about me, which leads to more DMs from people I don't know.